Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain a bit on something quite neat, actually. It impacts a lot of Android users, even if they don't think about it much, running like two copies of the same app on one phone. We're diving into one specific example called multi-app, dual space wax moon.
Yeah. And our mission really is to kind of unpack how these app cloners tick,
Hmm.
why people find them so useful, and also tackle that thing you always see, contains in-app ads. What's really going on there?
Exactly. And we've looked at quite a bit of info on this, stuff that explains the tech side, but also the practical side, why you'd use it, and importantly, how these free apps actually make money. Gives us a good picture.
Okay, let's just get right into it then. What is something like dual space wax moon? You hear terms like app cloner or parallel space. What's the core idea?
Well, fundamentally, these apps create a kind of isolated virtual space on your phone. Think of it like a sandbox, totally separate from your main system. And inside that sandbox, you can install a new copy or clone an app that you already have installed normally. Right, and here's where it gets really useful, I think, for a lot of people. The main draw is running multiple accounts, isn't it, for the same app? Like, the source mentions having two WhatsApp accounts running side by side. Same phone, different numbers, different chats, perfect for, say, keeping work and personal messages separate.
Absolutely, that's a huge use case. But it's not just messaging. The sources also point to gaming, this idea of a double game experience. So players can log into two different accounts in the same game simultaneously, maybe to manage different characters or try different strategies, saves needing two phones or tablets.
And there's a privacy angle, too, which seems important. The cloned app and all its data is kept totally separate from the original one.
Completely separate.
So your data doesn't bleed over, which is good for privacy. Some even have this privacy zone thing to hide cloned apps altogether.
That's right. It adds another layer. And in terms of actually using it, switching between the original app and the clone is usually designed to be pretty smooth, often just a single tap. And Dual Space Wax Moon specifically seems to aim for broad compatibility. Lots of social apps, games, different Android versions. They want it to work for most people.
Okay, so it's super useful, clearly. But how does it do that? How does it actually pull off this trick of running two WhatsApps, for example? It feels a bit like magic.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah.
But it's based on, virtualization concepts. These apps create that sandboxed environment we talked about. When you clone an app, it sets up a separate instance of that app within its virtual space. This instance gets its own data storage, its own settings, and crucially, you can log into it with a totally different account. And because it's isolated, it doesn't clash or interfere with the original app running in your main phone system. Technically, it often involves virtualizing certain parts of the Android system, creating sort of a mini environment for the clone.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's like a little walled garden for the cloned app. So we understand the utility, we understand sort of the tech behind it. Let's pivot to that other big thing. Contains in-app ads. What does that actually mean day to day?
Right. It means you're going to see advertisements within the app. The sources describe a few common types. You've got banner ads, those little scripts, usually top or bottom of the screen, static or maybe animated, pretty standard. Then there are interstitial ads. These are the full screen ones. They tend to pop up at natural breaks, like maybe when you switch apps or after you've used it for a bit. You usually have to close them manually to continue.
Oh, those ones. Yep.
And sometimes, though maybe less common in utility apps like this, you might see rewarded video ads. That's where you actively choose to watch an ad, usually in exchange for some kind of benefit like, unlocking a feature temporarily.
Okay, so different kinds of ads. But the big question is, why? Why do these free apps have ads cluttering things up?
Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. For developers offering an app for free, ads are often the main, or maybe even the only, way they make money. It pays for the development, the updates, keeping the servers running if needed. It's the fundamental business model for a huge amount of free software, offering the core features without charging upfront, funded by advertising revenue.
So the ads are basically paying for the app you're using for free.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, ads can be annoying, especially those interstitials, but they are what allows the app to exist and be maintained without you paying a subscription or an upfront cost. It's also worth mentioning some of these cloner apps might offer a paid pro version. You pay a fee, and usually that removes the ads, maybe adds a few extra features, so there's sometimes a choice.
Right, so you can sometimes pay to get rid of them. Okay, so wrapping this part up, the key takeaways seem to be these app cloners, like Dual Space Wax Moon, are genuinely useful for managing multiple accounts, keeping things separate.
And that separation, that sandboxing, is key for privacy too.
Exactly. And we've also kind of demystified the in-app ads thing. It's not just random annoyance, it's the business model that makes the free part possible.
And if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, it's interesting to think about how these ideas, virtualization, sandboxing, pop up elsewhere in tech. Cloud computing relies heavily on similar, though much more complex concepts. Understanding the basic principle here, even in a simple app cloner, can actually help you sort of grasp how other parts of the digital world work. Makes you a slightly savvier user, maybe.
That's a great point. So, final thought for you listening. Think about how having this ability, this multi-account power on your phone, might actually change how you use your device day to day. Could it simplify things, organize things better? And then what's the trade-off you're willing to accept for that convenience? Are those in-app ads, knowing why they're there, an acceptable price for the functionality? Something to definitely mull over.